Hey everybody, welcome back to Runaway Roses. Today we're going to tackle a much needed project on our Lance and something we've been needing to do pretty much since we got the camper. We've been running out of power.
Yep.
The batteries that are in our camper are going bad and it's time to replace them, and we're going to replace them with something you may not be expecting, and we're also going to add a battery manager. Stick around. We've been noticing our batteries going bad for the past few weeks, so it's time for an upgrade. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in some Go Power Sun Cycle 6-volt AGM batteries into our camper, which is going to be changed. We've never used 6-volt batteries, and we're also going to put in a battery manager to go along with those batteries so we can keep track of how they're doing, the health of the battery, and how much voltage and amp hours and all of that is left. But before we get into that, let me show you the section in our camper where the battery box is and just how tight it is and what we have to work with. So real quick, here are the batteries that we're going to put in the 6-volt AGM Go Power, and here's the battery management system. I'll open that up here in just a little bit and show you that. So those are going to be really awesome to put in. But in our camper, our batteries are located just inside the steps. You got to lift up the door to the step, and there's two 12-volt batteries in here. They're just sealed lead acid batteries, nothing too special there. I think they're like maybe 88 amp hours. They're not super powerful. So we're going to have to pull these out and put the 6 volts in. They're actually taller, but they will fit. So this is just a standard parallel setup as far as the wiring goes, and the new 6 volts are going to take they have to be wired in series, so it's going to be wired a little bit differently, and I'll show you that. We've had a lot of RVs over the years, and one thing that we're going to do differently this time around is we're going to put some 6-volt batteries in. We have never used 6-volt batteries in our RVs before. I know a lot of people have, so it's not like it's revolutionary or anything new, but it's new to us. Usually we just put a regular 12-volt battery in. I would often put an AGM 12-volt battery in, but this time we're going to put some 6-volt AGM batteries in, and we're going to try that. And the main reason we're going to put the 6 volts in is because you got to put them in series so it adds up to 12 volts, because that's what the camper runs on. But they have a longer discharge cycle. They're basically golf cart batteries, so you can run them down and charge them back up, run them down and charge them up. They're deep cycle batteries, but they can handle a lot of charging cycles, and you can run them way down in power. So really feel like that's going to help. And then we're also going to add a battery manager we're going to mount on the wall, and it comes along with a shunt that powers the system for the battery manager, and then you can keep track of the voltage, amp hours, and all kinds of good stuff. So you just kind of know where you're at as far as the usage goes if we're dry docking, which we don't really do a whole lot of dry docking, so we're not getting into the system of putting hundreds or 1,000 watts of solar on our camper, a bunch of lithiums and that sort of thing, which is great. That's if you can use that, then that's a great way to go. But most of the time, this is really about all we need to power to get us through a weekend, and it should be fine. And our solar panel will kind of help charge it as well. Most of the time, we do spend in campgrounds, so having a 12-volt system here, and these have 224 amp hours per 6-volt battery. However, you don't add them together. Since you're doubling the voltage on the battery, you don't double the amp hours of the battery. So it's still going to be 224 amp hours for these two batteries, but you can discharge them so much and recharge them that you just get a lot of extra power out of it, more so than just running two 12-volt batteries, which may be 100 amp hours for each battery. In that case, you don't double the voltage, and you would double the amp hours on a 12-volt battery setup here, having two 12 volts, and then you might have 200 amp hours together with two 12-volt batteries. But in this case, it's different, like I said. So we don't add our amp hours together, but we do add the voltage on these 6-volt batteries, and we're going to try them out. And I think it's going to work out great for us. Our neighbor actually has 6-volt batteries in his camper, and he's had them in there for some time, and he runs an inverter to power his residential refrigerator that he runs in there. And he'll travel for 6 to 8 hours, and his refrigerator is in great shape and has no problems doing that. So, you know, and I know other people have done that as well. So we're going to give it a shot this time around. I just wanted to try something different. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull out the old batteries. If you've been watching our channel long enough, the one thing that you'll recognize that we do fairly often is weigh things. So I got the new battery and I got the old batteries out. So we're gonna do a weight comparison, see how much they weigh. So let's throw on the old battery, old 12 volt battery here.
It's an interstate battery, Marine RV deep cycle.
About 48 pounds, something like that.
Something like that.
Pretty close. Let's throw on the 6 volt battery. It's heavier, tell by just feeling it. Yeah, it's about 62, 64 pounds. So I'd say the new 6 volt batteries, they are taller, so they're about 14 pounds or so heavier than the our old 12 volt batteries. So that's interesting. Now we know we're going to be adding an extra, you know, whatever that is, 28 pounds to the back of the camper. Just something to keep in mind. All right, we're going to clean out the battery box before we put the new ones in. Got to keep it clean, right? Just for fun, I'm going to check our the solar panel, see how much power it's actually bringing in. Because right now our camper is not plugged in. We got the battery disconnect off, but not only that, there's no batteries in the camper. But our solar controller is still on. I'm not even sure how to turn it off. We need to try to look at the instructions on that because it's not obvious if you can turn it off. But I've just got my meter out. I'm just going to check the voltage coming into the battery. And right now, looks like we're showing, yeah, 10.8 volts just coming in from the solar panel. It's just one solar panel on top. I think it's one 100 watt solar panel, I believe. So now it's at 11.2. So just kind of shows how much power to help charge the batteries, I guess. So on these Go Power batteries, one thing that I really like about them being the AGM is absorbed glass mat, which basically means there's fiberglass mat that's inside these batteries. Another thing about these AGMs is they will charge 5 times faster than just a regular lead acid battery for these 6 volt Go Power batteries. So I'm pretty excited about that, be able to charge quickly. They're vibration resistant, so that's going to be good being in the back of the camper. And they should work quite well. And here's the shunt that we have to put in that goes along with the battery manager. I don't know a whole lot about this stuff. I'm just kind of learning as well, so definitely don't claim to be an expert. So do your own due diligence, your own homework, and if you're not comfortable with putting a system like this in, you know, find a professional to do it for you. But I feel like it's pretty easy and straightforward, that I can definitely handle it. So just for a quick understanding of how these two 6 volt batteries will go together, what I want to do first is I'm just going to put the voltmeter on each of the batteries so you can see where they are as far as voltage goes. We'll go ahead and hook up just the one, positive and negative, and we're at 6.38 volts. And then we'll do the same over here on the second one, and we're at 6.41 volts. So they're 6 volt batteries, and they're got a little bit extra charge other than that, being brand new, where they should. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect the negative from one battery to the positive of the secondary battery. So we'll go ahead and do that. It's got one of the cables here, tie those together, which it may sound a little weird to put a positive to a negative, but that's how it's going to work, because that's going to double the voltage of the batteries. So once we tie this together, so that way for the camper, the positive coming off this battery will go to the camper, and the negative coming off the secondary battery will go to the camper. So that way it's both going out, and it's going out at 12 volts once you add them together. So just to show you that, once you tie them together, we have 12.8 volts. So
And that's how you run in series?
that's how you run 6-volt batteries in series. That's right. So we thought this might be a little bit easier, just to kind of lay the system out here on the table, kind of show you how it's going to go before I put it in the camper, because it's going to be much harder to do it in the camper. So I just showed you how the two 6-volt batteries go together. You tie them together, positive to negative. So now you got to have the positive over on this side, which goes to the camper positive, and over here is the negative that's going to go out to the shunt. So you have battery with your positive going to the camper, the secondary battery, the ground goes over to the battery side of the shunt. And the shunt is basically, and then from the opposite side of the shunt is for the load, which the load goes to the camper for whatever the camper is going to draw the load for the camper. So the battery goes to the battery side, the other side goes to the camper for the load side, and then on the shunt it has a power cord that actually goes to the positive on the battery. So what that does is that powers up the screen. So this is the screen that we're going to mount on the wall. So that's it. It's a pretty basic setup, and then that way we can keep track of, with our battery manager, of what we got going on, how much battery power we got left. So pretty easy setup. Hopefully this helps for just kind of a basic understanding of what we're about to put in the camper. And let me go ahead and get to work, get it in there, and I'll show you once we're done. The reason we're changing our batteries is because this past weekend we were camping and we realized that the slide was having a hard time coming in, and it was just really struggling. And I checked the voltage on it and it was low.
Having trouble with our slide here.
It's not really the slide, it's
the
our
battery.
batteries. Our batteries are just about dead, and I charged them the other day. And even though the camper is actually still plugged in, the batteries are just shot, and so the motor's not wanting to work. But
Come on, you can do
we just need
it.
to get home. We had issues with the slides coming in.
And the fridge was saying DC low.
Yeah.
It's flashing DC low on it.
Yeah, the fridge was letting us know once we unplugged, and fortunately we weren't far from the house, so we really weren't too worried about that. But we tried to put the slides in, and they were not wanting to come in, and I had charged the batteries fully before we went camping, so just over those 3 days, the battery drained down, even though we were plugged into shore power for the whole weekend.
Yeah, and we were, whenever that happened, it scared us a little bit because we're like, oh no, we're not going to be able to get them all the way in. After removing the cables from the old batteries, it's important to make sure they're clean before installing them on the new batteries. Sometimes they'll have corrosion, and you can use water to do that, but in this instance, I'm just going to use some sandpaper because they're pretty clean and they just have a little bit of grease on them. So that's what I'm doing now, getting it ready for Todd to put them on the new batteries. They're clean, ready to be installed.
All right, I got the shunt all wired up. Let me show you where I put it. It's inside the battery box. Got the battery box cleaned out and got it along that side wall back there. I still do need to connect in to the plug to run that wire out to the monitor. All right, well, I got the batteries in the battery box. These batteries are actually not as long as the old batteries, but they are taller than the old batteries. And as you saw, they also weigh more than the old batteries. So I got them in. I got to go ahead and run the cord to where I'm going to mount the monitor. For a final look at what we've done here, lift the step up. We have our two 6-volt batteries in series, and we have this long cord here, which is 25 foot, which we don't need that much, but it's the one that runs up to the monitor. So that's really awesome. So some people may run that monitor all the way down the hall and up to a wall or something, but so that turned out really good. And then you can see back here where we ran the cord up through the vent. I'm gonna have to kind of clean that up and seal that hole with some silicone just to keep the water out. And That's about it.
Now that we have the batteries installed and the battery manager installed, we have to change the type of battery on the solar controller as well as the battery manager. And we're changing it from from lead acid to AGM. On this one, it's 2. You just do this right here. You hold this down. I've already changed it over, but hold that down. You can change it to 1, 2, or 3. 2 is AGM for this solar controller, and then you just hit that like that, and it goes back to it enters it. It accepts it, I guess is what the terminology is. And then on this one, you go into the little cogwheel here. Is it shunt settings?
Yeah.
I think. And then battery type, we want to change it to AGM. And then that's it. That's it.
That way the batteries get charged at the right level and they don't get overcharged. Let's take a look at this battery manager. Just kind of scroll through some of the settings here. Let's click on the settings wheel there. You can go to screen settings. You can change the rotation of the screen. You can go to landscape or portrait or inverted landscape and portrait. You can go to, I think this is Bluetooth. I'm gonna have to look into that. So that'd be neat if we can get that set up. Probably an app I gotta get. Brightness, you can change the brightness of the screen. I'm just gonna leave it at 100%. See what else, scroll on through. You can change from Fahrenheit to Celsius, I'm sure. Buzzer enabled. I'm not sure if I want that or disabled. I'll put it back to enabled. I may change that. If I scroll through there, you can change the date and time. And then if we go into shunt settings, you can change the battery type, which we've changed it to AGM. It came standard on lithium, but you can change to whatever battery type that you have. You can go to the voltage type. So we're on a 12 volt system, but if you're on a 24 or 48 volt system, it'll work with any of those. So that's really cool. You got options there depending on what you're working with. The amp hour capacity, our batteries are 224 amp hours. So I changed that to 224 amp hours. And then actually let me go back to shunt settings, scroll on through. External relay disabled. I'm not sure about any of that. There's probably really no history there. It's all new. Zero current. Don't know what that is. And that's pretty much it looks like. Then we can go back to the home. And then it shows out of our 224 amp hours, 112 amp hours remaining. I guess that's pretty standard. I guess we're kind of going to half of your amp hours is kind of where you want to be, I guess. So it gives us our volts, our temperature for where the batteries are located. 0 minutes until full because the batteries are fully charged. And amps and watts, I guess, for the current usage. Pretty neat little setup. Tells you a lot of information all on one little screen just to see what's going on with your batteries. Before we got into this project, we were in serious need of some new batteries because ours were in bad shape. So I want to say thank you to E-Trailer for providing us with these new 6-volt batteries and the battery manager. So that's going to be a big help. We look forward to using it and seeing how it does, doing a review on it later on down the road.
Yep.
And we're very excited that our whole battery system is Go Power. So
yeah, and now we can actually monitor our batteries as opposed to just guessing at how much power we have left in our batteries.
yeah, being able to see the voltage and the amp hours and the usage level, that we have left, that's going to be a big help. If we're out boondocking or something like that. So it's going to be really nice to have. If you're looking at getting some swapping your batteries out in your RV, and not sure if you want to go from 12 volt to 6 volt, maybe this will help you kind of make that decision, one way or the other. We've never done it before, so we're going to give it a shot this time. I think it's really going to help. With the batteries, 6 volts having a longer duty cycle and being able to discharge longer and recharge 5 times faster than just a regular lead acid battery, I think it's going to be a big advantage in the future.
Yeah, and we'll update you guys in a future video and let you know how it's going for us.
We'll put a link to the battery and the battery manager down below if you're interested in that for eTrailer. And we are affiliates with them, so we make a few pennies off a sale, but that's at no additional charge to you. So if you use the link, that would be great. We'd appreciate it. And hopefully the video helped, and we'll see you next time on Runaway Roses. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.